So it felt like there was a little bit of breeze in your afternoon. That was just everybody exhaling at One Buck Place when they found out that Baker Mayfield's shoulder is not as messed up as they thought it could have been. Oh, man. Yeah.
So you're telling me they're not going to sign Kyle Trask off the Falcons?
I know.
practice
And I
squad.
was
That's what you're
so
telling me?
looking forward to that transaction, too. You know, let him and Teddy Bridgewater battle it out for once and for all.
Well, we have a quarterback competition finally because we haven't had one here yet.
I know. Really didn't have one. It was him and Baker Mayfield. So Baker had his MRI, and it was around 1:15 p.m. on Monday. And prior to that, I was told, according to my sources, even before Adam Schefter tweeted it out, I tweeted out that they were of the belief that it was an AC joint sprain in his left shoulder. And that denotes really nothing unless you're a doctor, but it's sort of like a mild separation, if you will, a sprain more than anything else. And so, if that did prove to be the case, it would be the best of news because people were afraid that it could be much more serious, and for good reason. But they did do the MRI, and it did in fact come back that it was a mild AC joint sprain. And so, what that means is. It is possible, and I'm told that it's just going to be sort of a pain tolerance type situation, but it's possible that Baker won't miss any games, that he could play Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals if the Bucs deem that to be the best course of action here. So it's really good news from the just the possibility of maybe losing him perhaps for the remainder of the season or something, or an extended period. Now the question is going to become, what are the risks? Obviously, anytime you play football, there's a risk, but do the Bucs err on the side of caution and prepare Teddy Bridgewater to be the starter? Because bringing him in off the bench cold is one thing, especially in a game when you're trailing, 31-7, and they're pinning their ears back on every down. And he's had no reps and really just got to town that morning because he had been at a funeral in Miami. Making the offense fit Teddy's skill set is different than Baker's. Do you use those reps all week to do that, or do you just say, hey, when Baker can practice, how much he practices is fine. You can't get two guys ready per se, but you would have in mind that Baker's going to be your starter and go from there. It's a interesting dilemma.
I think you have to give Teddy all the reps this week. I think Baker needs the rest. Like Baker knows his offense. These are walkthrough practices at this point.
Yeah, Wednesday will be purely walkthrough no matter what.
Well, but they can't even be padded up at this point.
No.
And as banged up as the Bucs are, they're not going to pad them up.
Right.
So the practices are basically walkthroughs.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you have to prepare unless Baker's going to play. Like, you've got to get Teddy ready.
Teddy ready. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, you've lost 3 in a row, 4 of 5.
Mm-hmm.
You need to reverse the course here. Unless Baker's playing, like Teddy Bridgewater hasn't had reps all season. So you've got to prepare like he's going to be. I mean, I'll take Baker coming in cold, not having a week's worth of reps. That's a better outcome if needed than Teddy coming in with Baker got the reps but couldn't go because Teddy's not ready for this. Yeah. I mean, you kind of saw that in the game. Granted, the game was out of hand at that point and whatever else, but like, and the offensive line was getting run over, and I mean, it wasn't like he had a fair shot there, but without getting starter reps all season in practice, like, it showed he couldn't command the offense and run it the way you wanted to. Now, a week's worth of reps is a whole different story, right?
Well, it's also you got to have a game plan. I think you sort of know you've gone through a whole season now, even if you're Josh Grizzard, or 3/4 of a season, knowing how to prepare a game plan for Baker Mayfield. But the biggest thing is that it's not going to look the same for a Teddy Bridgewater. So
Yep.
do you practice those plays, and then you can obviously click back into your Baker mode because of all the reps you've had with him at quarterback. I think you're right. I think you go into it saying, we'll see what Baker can do when he's ready to do it, but in the meantime, we got to get our number 2 ready to play. And I to do it the other way you'd end up in a situation like you just had, which you got a backup quarterback coming in with no reps, and that doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
You'd like to think that the Bucs and Teddy Bridgewater could beat the Cardinals just straight up, right? Because the Cardinals are as beat up as any team in football. I mean, they're obliterated with injuries, including their quarterback Kyler Murray's out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not naive. It's like they've almost beaten a couple teams back to back weeks. It's not like they're going to roll in here and just lay down for you, but at least again a winnable game. We've always said that if you have to play your backup quarterback for one game, you hope he wins one game. If you have to play him for 3 games, you hope he wins one game. This would be the game you'd want him to win. This is the one. So could another week help Baker heal up a little bit more? It could. My guess is, and I just knowing the guy, if you tell me that for this injury it's about Baker and pain tolerance, he's gonna go, right? And that's why he
Yep.
was on the field the other night.
Yep.
It wasn't any other reason except that his will to play put him out there, even though he obviously was in tremendous pain. And it wasn't, as near as they can tell. I think a lot of people, including myself, got hung up on the fact, like, why are you throwing a Hail Mary at the end of a game? Because that obviously, aggravated the situation. And it was really many plays before that.
Yes. That wasn't the play that hurt him.
No, nor was the one when he threw the touchdown pass. Although that's when we first saw him really grab it, right? Like he grabbed his arm and was wincing in pain after the touchdown pass to Tez Johnson. It was a running play that he got tackled and something happened, and the shoulder got exposed and he got hurt. He simply just didn't really tell anybody, and so Bowles was like, well, we went to the tent. Doctors did their thing. Pretty much asked him how he felt. He wanted to try it, and my whole dilemma was that cannot be the medical standard. Is how do you feel, big guy? Can you go? Somebody has to hold him back from himself. But he did go, and it turns out that he's no worse for the wear, apparently, for coming back in the game. Now, is that thing going to calm down between now and next Sunday? You would hope.
Well, but you also say that it can't be the medical standard, but we've learned that the injury is just a pain tolerance thing. Now, you didn't necessarily know that.
They didn't know that. Yeah.
But I mean, part of it is, how do you feel? Can you go? If everything checks out physically,
right?
But you're in pain, then it's kind of, can you go? Like, I mean,
well, something is going on, or he
Sure.
wouldn't have held his arm like that. I mean, he clearly was in pain. So,
Sure.
but if they couldn't pinpoint, the severity of it, then that would have been a different deal.
Right. But I mean, almost every player in the NFL at this point in the season is playing with pain.
Right.
It's to what level and how can you deal with it and manage it is, how players get through the season, which is incredible, to be honest.
Yeah. No, they're freaking warriors. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, and Baker especially, because he's kind of been through this, in the past. And the injury in Cleveland was much worse. That was something that he played with after getting hurt like in week 2. But it was an injury that required surgery and all kinds of different things. So it was pretty messed up, and it got worse as it went along. He did it making a tackle after an interception, and then he dislocated his shoulder again when they were playing, ironically, the Cardinals, and it was so bad that it was a different angle, like the humerus bone was, kind of jacked up and all that. So it was a much worse injury than the one he has now. So best of news, the best they could have hoped for was a mild sprain, and what they got was a mild sprain. So, whether it's this week or next week, they got to win all these games. They got helped out on Monday Night Football. I don't know if you saw any of that game, but the 49ers beat the Carolina Panthers. And I'll tell you, the way the game started, Brock Purdy had 3 interceptions like in the first half, and it was not looking good, even though they led in the game pretty much the whole way. But Christian McCaffrey ran the ball well. They, for the most part, the defense, rose up, and so Carolina loses at San Francisco because it could have been Carolina in first place. Now the Bucs maintain their slim lead, and I think, like we talked about the other night, I mean, I really do think it comes down to, can you win, go at least 3-3 in these last 6 games, and can one of those wins be against Carolina? Just one.
Well, if you can make both of them against Carolina, then your work's cut
game
out
over. Probably game over. Now, I haven't done the math. Like I assume that if Atlanta ran the table, they would be in this thing because you still have Atlanta again, but you got 1 win on them already. So clearly, if one of your 3 wins was at home against Atlanta coming up here on Thursday Night Football 3 weeks from now, that also would propel you, probably into the.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta can get to 10-7 on the season if they go 6-0.
Yeah. So they're still in it.
So, 5 more wins for the Bucs,
right?
Guarantees you Atlanta can't catch you.
Gives you 11 wins, yeah.
And actually, it'd be 3 more wins if you beat Atlanta.
If you beat Atlanta, right?
Because at that point, the best they could get to is 9, and you'd have the tie break. So,
yeah, and there's
3-3 works if you beat Atlanta.
If you beat Atlanta, and I don't expect them to go 5-1 really, or 6-0. It could happen, but the way they're playing right now, they just need to win a game.
I mean, if the Saints run the table, they get to 8-9, they could still win the division.
Yeah, so. I know. Isn't that crazy?
I mean,
I don't see it, but that's what it's football. Bucs won it at 8-9, then 9-8, and then 10-7 or whatever.
Although we do have one team eliminated from the playoffs already.
Oh yeah, who's that?
And that's the Giants.
Ah, okay.
At 2-10, they are eliminated.
Yeah. Well, Jameis is 0-2, but man, they love him in New York.
Even though Tennessee is 1-10, they still have a shot because the AFC, the wild card teams, have worse records. Like the NFC is more top heavy.
There's a lot of good teams in the North. There's going to be some teams in the North that don't win the division. They're going to be very, very tough outs. Whether that's Chicago or Detroit or Green Bay. I mean, really good teams. And the West as well. Like San Francisco is still in this thing.
Yep.
The Rams, obviously, I think is the best team in the NFC right now. I don't look.
Yeah. If the playoffs start today, the Bucs are playing the Seahawks.
They're playing the Seahawks, yeah, and that's the kind of team they're going to get. They're going to get one. I think they're going to get one of those NFC West teams that they've either already beaten, San Francisco, Seattle.
I mean, the third wild card right now, Detroit's out of the playoffs at 7-4. That's crazy.
That's insane, right? Like they're so good.
San Francisco's 8-4, so they have the last playoff spot.
And the one team, if I were the Bucs, if you say, okay, which team in the NFC you don't want to see? That's it, Detroit. I don't think they can stop them, man. They just run all over them. Jahmyr Gibbs, are you kidding me?
Oh,
I'll tell you what, man. You seen this Gibbs guy? He's a monster. So they still haven't caught up to him yet. I don't know. I don't know. I was braced for the worst news if they were going to say Baker was out for the year or whatnot. But early in the day, I got word through some folks that were close to Baker that they kind of suspected it was just an AC joint sprain, and they had their fingers crossed, and then their better angels were rewarded. So, and then talked to Todd Bowles, again about sort of like that Hail Mary and really risk reward and all that. And he just said, look, we had some options there. Could have just kind of thrown the ball up and out of bounds like a foul ball and just let the clock. Their number one goal was to run the clock out. I mean, I get that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't give them the ball back. That's the important.
Yeah, and by the same token, it was weird, sort of the way Baker, got outside to attempt to throw it down the field, and there was nothing about that throw looked natural, and he ended up kind of catapulting himself onto the ground, and he did land sort of on his left arm, and then rolled over. So he may have put a little more pressure on the shoulder when he came down after making that heave, but that's what they were trying to do anyway. And he said that Baker did not really alert them to when he got hurt, and that he obviously had been hurting a few plays earlier. They weren't happy about that he didn't tell them, but that's kind of who Baker's going to be.
So most players are.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I
mean that's the reason. It's not the reason, but Tristan Wirfs in the off season. Oh, it's fine. It's just pain, and no, then you need surgery, or I mean that's just kind of the way it is. I mean, players are always going to downplay it because one, they're hurt all the time. Like they're in pain all the time. So the question is, when does a player know that it's normal pain or I'm really hurt? Because what they do to their bodies in these sports anymore. Like their bodies never feels good, ever. So, what's the difference between this is just a little more achy than normal, or no, this is a problem?
Well, I mean, just looking at him, I can't imagine what it was like. Okay, so you get injured, you're in a sling. Now you got to get on a plane and fly home 5.5 hours. And by the time you get up, whatever that is, getting up Monday morning or Monday afternoon in Tampa, how stiff, how bad that shoulder feels, how bad your body feels, but especially that shoulder.
Yep.
It's going to take a number of days to, condition that thing and get it to get some range of mobility back.
Which is also why Teddy should get all the reps this week.
And I think, I kind of think he will. I think they'll prepare to play Teddy, and if Baker can go, then he goes. You know what I mean? You have a game plan for him. You've had a game plan for him every single week. You're still going to do certain things with the Cardinals against the Cardinals. And this week, if he, unless there's some setback, and there hasn't been yet, Todd Bowles made it clear that if he practices all week, he expects Bucky Irving to play on Sunday. So there's that, right? You could build a game plan around, a premier running back along with the other two guys. Because I think Tucker and White have run the ball really well. I mean, they've had over 100 yards the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So they're running the football pretty well. It would help if they got Ben Bredesen back. I still think, the guard situation has not been ideal, to say the least, without Cody Mauch, without Bredesen. That's affected Baker as well in the run game. So if you could get Bredesen back, if you get Bucky Irving back, Godwin is probably not going to be on as limited a pitch count. I think he like 25 snaps he might have played, and he had 4 targets and 2 catches for 9 yards. He was not Chris Godwin. But then you got to expect him to need some time to get himself back in shape. So maybe he'll be a little bit better this week. So you're starting to get pieces back, which can certainly help. But the biggest thing is that they got to find a way to play defense and sort of stop the hemorrhaging over there, because the secondary is still giving up big plays. That game by Zion McCollum was rough. Like that was hard to watch. I mean, it was like them going after Benjamin Morrison a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go,
it was an elite receiver in Devontae Adams,
and a Pro Bowl quarterback who's playing as well as he's played in his career, and that's what I was going to say. You nailed it. You have to appreciate, that in some of those plays, that coverage was not that bad. In fact, it was, in a couple instances, it was damn good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the ball placement, right? And you have 2 Hall of Fame players, right? Yep. That are playing in their prime. I mean, I think Devontae Adams leads the NFL in touchdown receptions.
Yep.
And we know that Matt Stafford has thrown 30 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. And I think he's thrown 25 touchdowns without one. Okay, so those guys are playing at a high elite level. Somebody said something that was funny the other day, that maybe Tristan and his brother switched places and we're playing with the twin, the lesser of the 2 twins. But no, that you chalk up to a rough game, and I think he hasn't played well really in a couple weeks, neither as a secondary in general. I don't know where Reddick stands. They definitely got to get more pressure. They haven't put together the pressure and the coverage together. We'll see. Jacoby Brissett, the one thing I'll say, he's beaten these guys before, beat Tom Brady with the Cleveland Browns in overtime one time. And he's very capable. I think, one game where he had, 40 something completions. Like, he's going to come in here and throw and complete a lot of passes, and the defense is going to be tested again. And You're going to have to try to get the ball back from him. He's not prone to make many mistakes. So, like, no matter what the Cardinals' record is, this won't be an easy game. They never are. When you've lost 3 in a row and 4 out of 5, and you're in this funk, you've got to find a way to win a game, and it'll be a titanic struggle in most cases. But that's where they are. I still think they have a really good chance, to win the NFC South. And now having said that, what does it mean if you get a Seattle or you get a San Francisco or Green Bay or one of those teams, Detroit if they make it back? It's the playoff game's a crapshoot. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be easy. But you hope you're playing your best football by then, and you hope that the Mike Evans and all these guys that are starting to come back, and even Bull said and confirmed to us on Monday that Kalijah Cansey has begun doing some things, and they think he could be back before the end of the regular season, which would be another huge bonus because they did not anticipate. They thought perhaps he'd be out for the year. So yeah, some pieces certainly helps players over plays, but the big thing is that it looked pretty dark and gloomy, after that terrible game. And then the sun comes up on Monday and you realize it's one game and you're still, after Monday night, thanks to the 49ers, you're still in first place. You're still there. You're still 6-5. You have a winning record and, plenty of winnable games on the schedule. So we'll see. See if they make the run and, kind of go from there. But, to get, the other guy is Jalen McMillan. He's also close because he's been running and doing things. He's got the neck brace off. The ligament damage and all that stuff is healed. The bone is healed. So really it's just for him, I think it's just a matter of conditioning. And, when he's back, I mean, can you imagine if you'd had all those guys healthy, but if you get some facsimile of Jalen McMillan and, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and then you have Emeka Ibuka, and then you have, Tez Johnson. Tez Johnson, I think, for these guys is been phenomenal. I mean, to get in the end zone as much as he has at 152 pounds or whatever it is incredible. So he's really helped. So,
one last thing about the Bucs too. And,
yeah.
Let's not forget last year at this time, they were 5-6.
You're right.
They're ahead of where they were last year.
You're right. Yeah.
Now they won 5 of the last 6 games
to
finish 10-7, but the Bucs are a game ahead of where they were last year. Now, I realize fans expect more than 10-7 and, thought and early in the year, you thought possibly competing for the number 1 seed overall, which, that's probably out of the picture at this point, but it's not doom and gloom yet. It hasn't been good the last 5 weeks for the most part. But last year they lost 5 of 6. They started 3-1, lost 5 of 6, then they won 5 of their last 6. So, it's easy to say the sky is falling on this team. And the defense has not played well the last few weeks at all. And there's injuries are mounting, although they're starting to get some guys back. We'll see if can Chris Godwin become Chris Godwin. Can Jalen McMillan be Jalen McMillan? When Hassan Reddick comes back. But, the other part is they played maybe the 3 best teams on their schedule the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that was a gauntlet, right? Like, that was an absolute gauntlet. I mean, the New England Patriots have the best record in all of football right now. They have 10 wins, the first team to 10 wins. Now, I'm not do I think New England's going to the Super Bowl? I don't, but tell me why not? Because they've got all the ingredients, They play in an easy division, just much like you'd say about the Bucs.
Yeah.
They've been beaten up on the AFC East.
But the Patriots are 10-2, the Rams are 9-2, and then the Niners are 8-4.
Right.
Those are 3 of the best teams in football. Now, you didn't play well, and that's concerning, especially if you start saying if that's a measuring stick game for the playoffs.
Yeah, it kind of is,
It kind of is, but the playoffs don't start for another 7 weeks.
Right. And then it's about who has momentum and all those
who's healthy at that time. And
that's correct. That is correct. Yep.
If you win the division, you have a home field.
You got a home game and maybe 2, depending on what happens in front of you. But
sure.
Yeah. So, it's, at that point, I think once you get in the quote unquote tournament, then anything can and does happen. And that's the goal. Do I think then there's a part of me too that says, well, they were 5-1, but let's look at those five. They needed 4 last second, comebacks by Baker Mayfield to beat teams like the Jets, um, and Atlanta, and so on and so forth. Not, you don't throw any wins back, but at that time, they're 5-1, and Baker's an MVP favorite, because of what he did and what they did in the end of games, not necessarily during games. So, better to win those games. It kind of reminds me a little bit like when Kansas City a couple of years back made it to the Super Bowl. Well, it was last year actually, and they got waxed by Philadelphia, but they won so many one-score games. Like they were, including the game against the Bucs. They would get in these games and they would just do enough to win at the end, whether it was overtime, last possession, whatever. This year, they're kind of playing the same way, and they're not getting those wins.
Yeah, last year they were something like 11-1 or something in
one-score games.
And this year they're like 0-5.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they've now won a game because they won this week that way.
This week they did, yeah. So it's whether you can win those close games, and that's the league. You don't, like I said, there's no style points here. We're not ranking teams based on number of points they scored against Ohio State. It's just basically win loss, and you kind of go through this marathon with the injuries and whatnot. The good teams, the really good teams, starting this week, Thanksgiving week, which is my favorite holiday, by the way. Maybe Christmas, but Thanksgiving week is when real football begins. And what you mean is you start to see separation in the divisions. There will be 2 or 3 teams that will go on a run, and they won't lose again. They'll win from Thanksgiving all the way to the end of the season. And those are the teams that will be the top seeds in the NFL, and they're the ones that everybody's got to try to beat to get to the Super Bowl. Don't know who they're going to be yet, really don't, but somebody's going to do it, and it could be the Bucs, but they're going to have to get healthy first, and Baker's going to have to be able to function. Look, he's only started running the football the last 2 weeks. He went for about 3 or 4 weeks there where he didn't even try to. So he was starting to feel better, and now he's got the shoulder situation. So if you take away his scramble ability or not wanting to get hit or tackled in certain ways, then he's lesser than. But just to have him back on the field, and if he can throw the football well, then you feel pretty good about it. But no torn labrum, no joint damage, so to speak, no fractures. So all that stuff checked out, all that's good, and we'll see where they go from there. I want to talk about one of the hottest teams in the NHL right now, which is the Tampa Bay Lightning. But first, get on down to Breitling Boutique. I was in the mall just the other day with my 15-year-old daughter, and we were walking by Breitling Boutique. I said, you know what? I'm going to stop there. It's in the center of the mall, second floor. Looked in the window, and what did I see but 2 beautiful examples of NFL team watches. They've got 32 different team watches while supplies last. The ones I saw were the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, either the Chronomat watches for men. They're absolutely stunning. They have the face of the watch and the team colors, the logo inside. But they have other watches for you too, men's watches like we mentioned. Also watches for your wife, your girlfriend. These are sports watches. They are durable, they are beautiful, and she can pick from just an array of different colored wristbands. It's Breitling Boutique. Spend some time in that store, get to know the customer service, have a drink. They're going to tell you all about their great Swiss timepieces. The Breitling Company, been in business for 140 years. They've been International Plaza for almost going on 6 years now. Please get down there, Breitling Boutique, International Plaza. Let them know that you heard about it right here on Sports Day, Tampa Bay. So I turned on the Tampa Bay Lightning game, and I was sort of noticing how many players weren't there. A number of defensive stars, obviously, and Braden Point not playing. But this machine just keeps rolling. They had their first shutout with Andre Vasilevsky, 3-0 over the Flyers. They're up 2-0, and they interviewed, I forget who they talked to at between intermissions. But basically, it was like, yeah, we're 2-0 is a good time to just shut everybody down in the third quarter or third period, make them go 200 feet. And they played that way. They played like you're used to seeing, a Lightning team suffocate a team when they have a 2-goal lead. It was impressive and good for them. What have they won? 9 out of 12 or something like that?
12 out of 15.
12 out of 15. Wow.
Yeah, after that 1-4-2 start, and everyone said the window's open, fire Cooper, fire Julian Breezeball, break him up. They're in first place.
Well,
22 games in, 15
games long season in hockey, is it not?
It is. But this a run. Look, they've won 4 in a row right now. At one point this year, they're without their top 4 defensemen.
Well, that's what's impressive is that so many guys are missing.
Because earlier this year, McDonough, Hedman, Chernak, and Crozier were your top 4 pair.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you could argue Crozier's, 5 or 6 or whatever, but he was playing with Hedman as a top pair, and then McDonough and Chernak. You're without them, and we got news that Chernak's out for at least a few weeks now. This is a different injury than what he was suffering from. Hedman's already on IR. McDonough's on IR. Crozier's on IR. Like, they're not coming back soon, although I guess McDonough's maybe starting to skate. We'll see. And then Braden Point did not play on Monday night. Kucherov did. Both of those guys left the game early Saturday, but Point did not play. He's iffy for Wednesday, according to John Cooper. But yeah, and Pontus Holmberg's not back. Like, they are really, really beat up, although a lot of teams are. The injury bug in the NHL seems really bad this year. I don't know if that's true. It just feels like it. But the Lightning keep finding ways to win, and they're doing it because they're keeping teams out of their defensive zone and out of the net. I mean, Vasilevsky now in his last 4 starts has given up 3 goals. But a lot of it's the team in front. They only surrendered 20 shot attempts on Monday night.
Well, in 4 of their last 6 games, they've limited teams to 1 goal or less. That's pretty impressive.
Yep, that's how you win games.
Yeah.
And so, as John Cooper would say, they're munching points.
I mean, to only give up 20 shots is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. To a team that was trailing most of the game and needed to score.
And if you're talking about Andrei Vasilevsky, he won his 4th straight. He's now 9-2-0 in his last 11. So he's back to being Andrei Vasilevsky.
Mm-hmm. The penalty kill is it was second in the NHL. Let me check it real quick here. It might be first by now. They killed off 2 penalty kill only 1 penalty kill they killed off. But yeah, I mean, it's with who's out of the lineup and who's coming up, and they're constantly calling new guys up. Max Groshev's probably going to play on Wednesday, I'm guessing. He was called up but didn't come in. And he's a forward they converted to defense last year. And he's doing really well. He's leading Syracuse in plus minus. Lightning's still second in the penalty kill, just 0.2% behind the Sabres. But like it's impressive what they're doing. And the biggest thing is wait till they get these guys back.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is the depth of this team.
And they're doing it with Bjorkstrand's only got 2 goals. Braden Point struggling. I mean, he was out Monday, but he's struggling. Like, Brendan Hagel's been incredible of late. He's got 7 points the last 2 games. Sorelli's doing great. Like, this is just, it's finding a way to win. And really playing good defensive hockey, which is ultimately what will win you championships. It's ultimately what the Bolts did the 2 years they won the Cup. Get a lead, lock it down.
Credit to Syracuse because those guys know how to lock it down. I mean, if nothing else, they've come up here and done the job. So,
well, the thing is, going into the season, who would have thought that Dominic James, Charles-Edouard Destoux would be in your starting lineup? Yeah. You didn't even know who they were because they weren't on the roster.
Right.
Like, I mean, their scouting staff and who they found this offseason has been incredible. And then, signing Pontus Holmberg and Jacob Pelletier looks good when he's up. And, their scouting staff did a tremendous job this year. Changed a lot of their, depth of the organization. So they play again Wednesday night at Calgary. Then they go on a 3-game road trip to Detroit, the Rangers, and the Islanders starting on Friday.
Yeah, home against Calgary on Wednesday, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Calgary.
So Calgary, that wraps up 7 of their last 9 at home. Then they enter a stretch of 7 of 9 on the road. But they've been a better road team than a home team this year.
That's right, because they got off to that slow start with a lot of home games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm here for it. I mean, just keep, like you said, munching points and staying at or near the top of the division. You'll be fine.
Yep.
What are we, like more than a third through the season now?
No, just over a quarter way.
Quarter.
So,
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, they've played 22 of 82, so they have 60
okay,
left. So,
gotcha.
yeah, about a quarter of the way through the season.
Yeah, a lot can happen, good and bad, but it's not. At least you don't have to say, well, break up the band because
Well, you could be the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are in last place in the Eastern Conference through 22 games.
Oof.
The only team in the East under hockey 500.
Yeah, that's rough.
And they've done this playing. They've played 22 games. 15 of their 22 games have been at home, and they're below 500.
Ouch, babe.
That's not a good sign. I mean, because now you got to make up all those games on the road.
Right. I think I'm going to try to go Wednesday. My first effort was game 2 of the season, and it was one of their worst games that they have played.
I don't know if we want you there because when you
I know I don't have a good record. No, don't have a good record at all.
And by the way, Calgary they were the worst team in hockey. They've now passed Nashville.
Nashville's now the worst?
Oh, yeah.
Poor Steven Stamkos. Do you think he regrets his decision? Probably not. $32 million. Probably didn't regret it.
They can't score goals. They've got 52 goals in 22 games. That's barely over 2 goals a game.
Wow.
Like, that's bad.
That is bad.
Yeah, Calgary got off to an awful start. They've won 3 in a row now, so playing better, but still have a lot of ground to make up. They're 8 points out of a playoff. Now, you're only a quarter of the way through the season. You can make up 8 points, but
well, we're entering one of my favorite times of the year because I love Thanksgiving. There's at least 2 really good football games on Thanksgiving Day.
You can ignore the Thursday night game, although Joe Burrow will be back. So,
is he going to play? Do we think?
I mean, the head coach Taylor said he expects him to play.
No, then that's worth tuning in.
And Burrow put an old school Instagram post out of him from 11 years ago in high school or whatever, with a LeBron James jersey on.
Okay,
Cavaliers won.
Really thought he was going to play this past week, but they decided one more week to hold him back.
I think with these going Sunday to Thursday, I don't think they wanted to play him 2 games in a row.
That makes sense.
That short of, give him more time in between, so they held him out. And look, their season's over anyway. So.
Yeah. If you're going to play him,
Joe Flacco played out of his mind, and they can't stop anybody. So,
yeah, I just hope they can protect up Burrow. Still one of my favorite quarterbacks. If he were on a good team, I think he'd be the best in football right now. I think he's, in his own way, he does it differently, but he's as good as Josh Allen. And
he's the old school. He's the Tom Brady, the Peyton Manning type quarterback.
Yeah, pocket, read it out. Joe Cool, accurate, make clutch throws, covers up a lot of mistakes and a lot of bad, pass protection and things like that. Ball placement. I mean, yeah, he's next level. He really elevated. It's too bad on the way I think he plays for a bad organization.
Well, he's a lot like Carson Palmer, who was drafted and played for that same organization.
Yeah, it's a good comparison.
Great quarterback that is wasting away.
Yeah.
Because the organization is inept.
Yeah, they just won't surround him, especially on the offensive line with what he needs, to function, and that's why he gets hit so much and gets injured. So all kind of goes hand in hand, but yeah. I guess on Wednesday, so we'll be, there's no access tomorrow with the Bucs. Wednesday, we'll be drinking from a fire hose because, in addition to the interviews we get on Wednesday, we'll also get everybody we get on Thursday. So it'll be a busy day over there at One Buck Place. Then Thursday, they'll have practice probably earlier than later, Thanksgiving Day, so guys can get home and wherever they're going to go for their Thanksgiving dinner. And then Friday and then on in through the weekend. It's supposed to be a beautiful weekend. Weather-wise, I think
it's going to get into the 40s.
Cool down a little bit, for Thanksgiving Day, which is great. Yeah, can't wait. Cannot wait for that. So that'll be fun. Kids are home, driving me crazy. They all want to go do stuff. It's like, no, I'm still working. I know you don't drive. This is a problem. I don't care where your friends are or what mall they went to. I'm not going there. So it's one of those deals. But because they're not in their usual routine, the dance has stopped for the holidays, and some of the little leagues and some of the things they're used to doing. Everybody takes this week off, but I love Thanksgiving. I love the holiday. Got the Egg Bowl on Friday. Maybe we'll find out where Lane Kiffin's going to go soon. That's the big
They're
mystery
supposed to have an
right now.
announcement after it, so
Yeah.
I think that's a noon start on Friday, so it should buy.
What are the? I haven't looked at the odds. Is LSU the odds on favorite for him right now?
It depends on who you look at. I mean,
yeah.
Every other tweet is, I got a source that says it's Florida. Now I got a source that says it's LSU.
Yeah.
Source says Ole Miss. Watch him go to Penn State.
Right. Exactly. Or to the NFL, the New York Giants.
No, that's possible too. Jackson Dart there.
Yeah, the timing is a little different, but it is possible. I think. I guess there's some things at LSU you would really covet. I don't know you'd covet it that much more than Florida. Like to
Actually,
me,
the timing for the Giants is perfect because you can stay through the playoff for Ole Miss. You don't need to be in New York till after the season.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
you're not
from a coaching standpoint.
Yeah, you're not going to leave Ole Miss in the middle of a playoff. You could stay and coach the playoff, and then go to New York.
I mean, look, I think all those assistants know they're pretty much gone anyway. But if you do hire him now, you're confirming that they don't have jobs. At least there's the illusion that maybe one or most of them might stay. I don't think they're going to give the interim head coach the head coaching job, but be that as it may. The hiring season is usually a little bit after college football just because their season's so long. But to me, watching this part of this next, I haven't watched the whole series, but Lane is in this sort of different space personally, right? About not chasing certain things in his life, kind of enjoying what's right in front of him, his daughter and different things that he's been through. But
yeah, but in this case, they're chasing him. He's not chasing it.
Well, I know, but that's still here's the question. It's if you're happy, do you look for happier? Right?
Grass is always greener on the other side.
Well, and as my good friend Tom Moore says, sometimes it's greener around the septic tank.
Yeah, well.
You just, you can fall into that trap of more and more and more, and then you find out that less is more. I mean, he's going to win a ton of games at Ole Miss and be in the college football playoffs, right? What's your goal if you're a head coach? Is to win a bunch of games and be in the college football playoffs. Now, I'm not naive. I know that Ole Miss probably doesn't have the resources that, say, the University of Florida has, or maybe even LSU. But I'm trying to think of the appeal outside of money. Great tradition at LSU, great, recruiting ground. There's all that stuff. But it's, to me, if you're Lane Kiffin and you grew up a Spurrier fan, and you saw yourself with that visor that you wear every week on those sidelines, and you're kind of a Florida guy versus Baton Rouge and sort of the cultural thing there. Again, great college football atmosphere, phenomenal, Tiger Stadium at night. But I don't think it's that much different than Ole Miss in some ways. I mean, Ole Miss is obviously not a traditional power that LSU has been at times. I don't know. I think to me it would come down to, hey, you're happy where you're at, right? They're going to do everything they can to keep you being happy from a salary standpoint. Everything. Just build your fiefdom right there that you've already built at Ole Miss, or go to Florida and live your dream job. If this is where you saw yourself as a kid, as a young coach growing up, admiring a guy like Spurrier, who is in his ear, then go ahead and take that job. Live that vision, that you probably had many, many years ago, and you're still in the SEC. And let's face it, Florida has vastly more resources from a booster standpoint than say some of these other schools in the SEC. Maybe not more than LSU. I don't know, but it's kind of like Mama called. Okay, go home. Go home. That makes sense to me. Or stay there. I guess there's a lot of odds makers to say LSU, but I think it's between Ole Miss and Florida. That's kind of the way I look at it. And I know nothing about nothing. I really don't. I've met Lane a couple times and knew his wife Layla, and stuff like that. So
you got to see him go to LSU, because I saw a report that Ed Orgeron would become his defensive coordinator, and LSU's open to that.
That would be awesome.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers, Joe Burrow, Tiger King. Love it, Orgeron, man. What a character. Woo. He gotten some stuff off the field down. That's what I mean. I don't know how to say this without saying this, but like there's some things about Louisiana. It's just I've spent some time there, man. It's different. It's just I don't know.
That's one way to describe it.
Not necessarily in a bad way, but there is a cultural schism, let's say. That you have to fully buy into and experience. Until you've been in what became a bar fight in Baton Rouge one time. It's just different, man.
So what you're saying, Brian Kelly didn't fit in?
No, even with his fake accent, they were not buying that. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. But they've produced some unbelievable players though, and so has Florida, to be honest with you. So that's the big decision. So yeah, we got the Egg Bowl on Friday. Got 3, at least 2.5 pretty good games in the NFL on Thursday. Shorter week. Kids are home, all that. So enjoy your Thanksgiving, everybody. Get on down to Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. Don't forget to look and check out the NFL team watches celebrating the 104th year anniversary of the National Football League while supplies last. Beautiful watches for your wife, your girlfriend. It's Breitling Boutique International Plaza. Make sure you let them know you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.